Okay, cool. Thank you so much for jumping on. Carly, I can see you there looking fabulous as always. So I'm going to really quickly introduce Carly, then I'm going to bring her on. I've got a few questions for her that hopefully will inspire you guys. And some of you will know Carly's stories. I'm guessing probably most of you maybe don't know it or haven't. A lot of new people in the team, a lot of people don't know some of the PMDs, some of the NMDs, so I'm going to pretend or assume that nobody knows Carly's story so she can share it from scratch. So Carly, thank you so much for jumping on the call with us this evening. We're so privileged to have you here. I'm going to unmute you in a second. There we go, and I'm going to spotlight you as well. So Carly is a PMD in the business. She's also been in the business pretty much the same length of time as me. I think we joined within a month of each other, so heading for almost 10 years as well. Has got a phenomenal story. She's been sidelined to me and a friend to me for all of that time pretty much. I think we went to Ireland together. It was our very first trip away, and that very first Rhino trip we went to back in 2013. So we've been friends ever since, and I'm really excited for her to share her story with you. So let me just bring you on. Hey love, how are you?
Hello, beautifuls. I am fabulous. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I know you've got loads of calls yourself on tonight as well, so thank you so much for fitting us in and for launching. These are the first of a series of what we're calling our Inspired Life stories, our Inspired Life calls that I'm going to do every Monday night. So you are our inaugural person tonight, so I'm really grateful to you for kicking us off with these calls. So yeah, it's a privilege to have you, so thank you so much. So Carly, tell us a little bit, what is your story? What does everybody need to know?
Well, thank you for having me, ladies. Let's make it a good one, eh? The first one. So yeah, like Emma said there, old timer. I cannot actually believe it. It's going to be my 10-year anniversary in January, which is just mental. So I was just turned 23 when I started. And I don't know about you, but before, like when I was a bit younger, I always had it in my head, like age 25. You know, like when you think people in the 30s are like pure, like got the shiz together adults. I always imagine I had this thing about the age 25. I always just imagine when I was younger, I would be like settled down, married with this job and everything would be just perfect by this age. I always had this envision in my mind. And I had all these, you know, I was just plodding along before I found Juice Plus. I was working in retail, I was working in call centres. I was a little bit of a rebel, but I didn't stress about it too much at the time. So the longest I ever lasted in a job was about 6 months. I'd either not turn up, get sacked, get made redundant. It was not very good. And then when I was 21, I fell pregnant, and that was not on the plan, like a lot of things. And all of a sudden, instead of just plodding along, I literally was like, oh, wow, like this is a bit scary now. So I'm still living at home, absolutely no savings, not in a good financial position. And all the things that I'd not stressed about, I suddenly did. I was like, oh my God, I haven't done all the things I want to do. You know, I've not all done the girly things, the travel. I'm not stable. My mind was just absolutely all over the place. And I've got this new, you know, little baby that you're responsible for. I was really stressed out. And my mum was absolutely amazing. Like I always try and make it clear, you know, when you say, oh, from skint to 7 figures. I wasn't a pauper. Like I had a lovely childhood. I was brought up very well by a single mum, but I was very dependent on her. You know, she was still not even taking any rent off me. So having this baby and thinking, Carly, what the hell are you going to do? I knew I was searching for something, but I didn't know what it was. So decided to do a personal trainer course. I've always been interested in health and fitness. And then I spotted Juice Plus on Facebook. It was Katie Raver. Looking fantastic, a friend through a friend, just to show you the power of social media. She wasn't even my friend on Facebook. Something just intrigued me about her, and I finally went along to an event. So I was looking at the business about this time of the year. I finally went to an event when she kind of made me feel like she didn't care about me coming anymore. I was like, oh no, I'm going to come now. So I went along. It was the crummiest little event. You're probably there, Emma. It was in a little golf club. And honestly, guys, I sat outside. I drove like 45 minutes. I knew no one like properly. And I thought, I feel like an idiot. Like, should I just drive off? Because I don't even understand what I'm getting myself into here. I feel like an absolute fool. But I thank God that I went in, and something just felt good. I drove home. I remember getting a Chinese on the way home and sitting down with my mum. I was like, this is so exciting, mum. Like, there was this guy with loads of hair and he's done this, and these girls like just normal. They're all making loads of money and and it gave me a little bit of light in myself that I felt like I'd lost instead of like panicking. And honestly, didn't have a clue what I was doing, like a lot of us back then. But I was very excited. Like the thought of making extra money, I was making 450 quid in my minimum wage job at the time, topped up on benefits. So a little bit extra to me was like, wow. And in my first month, I got on the shakes, first of all. That was all that I could afford at a push. And within 2 weeks, I looked better, right? I looked well better. I started working out because I thought I've got to show these products off. And I just, like we always say, even to this day now, I was just documenting what I was doing. And on my first month, I think I made 160 quid. And that was amazing to me. It was like really, really special. I thought, this is fantastic. And then in month 2, I earned 780, and that literally blew my head off, because that was more than I was making I was working in a jewelry shop. I had to leave Kyle. I had to put him into childcare 4 days a week, because it was like spread. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And it took me a couple of months to really get into the business. I was very good at sharing the products because I was genuinely loving them, and that was quite easy for me to do. But I always choked when it came to sharing the business. I don't know why, but I'd literally be speaking to someone, they'd be giving me all the hooks to me, literally saying, I hate my job, I hate my life. And I'd be like, and still not tell them about it, because I just didn't have that confidence. And then when we went to Dublin, which is my first event, and that was a bigger, I'd never flown anywhere on my own. And again, I just didn't quite know what was involved. And I was like trying to be something that I wasn't. I remember going through Dublin airport in high heels this big, what an idiot, thinking, just trying to like be this little businesswoman, expecting everyone to be like dead fit, and everyone wasn't. Like, it was just such a mixture, and it just opened my eyes to how normal everyone was who was doing great at this business. And Emma will remember, because she says the same. I'd gone into that room thinking, oh my God, just again feeling very uncomfortable. Everyone was dancing and standing on chairs, and I was like, oh God, I don't know where to put myself. And by the end of that weekend, I really felt part of it. But it was that one line when they got up on stage and someone said, we have lost count of the amount of millionaire mums that have been made in this business. And it just stuck with me, that, because I thought, these are normal people. Like, why am I just doing this a little bit? And I think from then, it changed my attitude, and I kind of got out of my head and started to think, right, who else can I help with this? And honestly, it just went into a bit of a whirlwind. I did a lot of things that I wasn't ready for, like events wise. Again, with Emma, we were putting on events, and having to stand up in front of a room and speak in front of people was honestly my worst nightmare. But John said to me, well, it's all right, Carla, because he asked me to do an event. I think I was at SC in Liverpool, and he told me to put on an event. I was like, I can't, I'm not ready. And he went, that's fine. He said, but just remember, in about a year's time, when I said you could have been the first PMD in Liverpool and it's someone else. And again, I was like, oh, no. So FOMO works very well with me, that pressure. So I did. That's exactly what I did. The things that I weren't ready for, I got up, we did events, and we just got out of our own way. And it was absolutely insane. In 6 months, I moved out of my mum's, which I adore my mum. She's the best. But being able to buy a place for me and my son, and buy all my own furniture and everything, I was like, I felt better about myself. You know what I mean? I felt like I was providing. And then the bonus plan came into play, which it wasn't there when I first started. And again, my mind was opened, and I thought, right, I had bad credit, I had no savings, and I don't know what it is, just always the house thing has been a massive thing for me. I always wanted my own place, like my own security for me and Kyle. So when the bonus plan came out again, I was like, I could buy a house with that. So I went crazy again. I think I saved up about 50 grand and tried to get a mortgage, and my credit was that bad. They were like, nope. So I was like, right, okay, so best carry on then. And I ended up going national marketing director in 11 months. I was still working. I was still doing my personal training course. I had a 2-year-old. So didn't have much time to do this, but it didn't feel like work. Honestly, I was obsessed with it. Like the time that I did get was going straight into this because I loved it. And I remember everyone was saying to me, why are you still doing that job? And I was like, because I'm scared. Obviously, other people were saying to me, enjoy it while it lasts. It's not going to last. It's going to be a little flashy, a little flash in the pan thing. So it felt like, a bit of security staying in that job. But when it got to Christmas, they wanted me to come in on Christmas Eve and Boxing Day, stupid times. I was like, I've got a 2-year-old. They're like, tough, don't care. I went, I'm not coming back tomorrow. And everyone was like, is she okay? She's leaving to sell milkshake on Facebook. They were talking about me. And you would never believe it, because honestly, everything was such a whirlwind at the time. I didn't even know what was going on. The next day I went national marketing director, the day after I quit my job. So I was like, yes. And then I hit PMD in 13 months, 100 Club. I didn't even know what 100 Club was. I remember Simon ringing me. I was at one of my friend's houses, like, Carly, you've hit Club 100. I was like, oh, is that good? Honestly, it was just mad. It was crazy. And then I collected all the bonuses. In 2 years, I bought my first house in cash, which was just absolutely mental, because I've never heard anyone who's done anything like that. But for me, that was the biggest achievement. It was so good to be able to give back to my mum. That's always one of my favourite things that I've been able to do. Instead of going, Mum, can I have 100 quid? I'll give it you back next week every month. I actually got her up at the front of an event and I sent her to New York for a 50th, all a spends and everything. And I took Kyle to Disneyland for New Year's Eve with Emma Karen. So that was a big, massive wow, because I hadn't been able to take him on a holiday before that. I couldn't afford it. I was able to retire my mum. Not long after that, she was moaning about a job all the time. I was like, well, we don't need to do it anymore. And ever since then, I don't even know what to call her really. She's like my wing woman sidekick, just does as she's told now and again, and lives like a little lady of leisure now. She goes on holiday all the time, and it's the best to see her doing that, because she was a foster carer. So she's give. So now just seeing her, getting to enjoy her life now is absolutely amazing. Fancy stuff, it's been amazing, because I was a girl who struggled. I was skint, I'd never had much money. So I've been able to do the flashy stuff, the fancy cars. Traveling is obviously one of the most important things in the world. My granddad said to me 2 weeks ago, travel while you can. And that's like another thing that stuck with me. Do you know what I mean? You can't put a price on that. The memories that you make, being able to take some of my friends away. Obviously life is completely different now for my son. He's like got a nice secure future, got a nice trust fund, so that I don't have to, just mainly for me, I was worried about like his first car, his first house, because they were the things that stressed me out the most. I did all that myself, and I kind of wanted to take that burden away. You've got to be careful, like, I'm hoping he doesn't turn into a spoiled brat, but I'm glad that I've been able to tick off those things. And then the last year has been a really good one as well. So a couple of years ago, I'm still like that, girls and guys. I'm always like, I like to put myself ahead so that I know that I'm comfortable. So I was ready for a new house, but I made sure I really got myself sorted first, and I found the dream house. And it was a pain in the butt. Actually, it was like a year longer than it should have been, but it all turned out for the best. And we've moved into this house now. So now I'm here with fiance Kyle. I've got 4 dogs because of this business. I don't know if that's always a good thing. Sometimes I'm like, what were you thinking? Because it's bloody hard work. But I do get lots of steps in every day because I have to do 2 walks. And it's just, I've just always loved now the freedom. Today, even for example, getting up, taking Kyle to school myself. I'm a school run mum. I can go to the gym straight after the school run. And then I spoke to my mum. I've just got a new little nephew who's only a couple of weeks old. She's like, come shopping with us. So, I didn't have to ask anyone. Off I went and met my mum for lunch and shopping. So I just love absolutely everything the business gives to me. I always say there's 5 Fs, which is fun, friendship, freedom, finances, and fulfillment. And I feel like usually there's always one of those things missing. But with this, honestly, it's ticked every single box, and I just absolutely love what we do. The team that I've got is insane. They're literally my best friends. I spend a lot of time with them outside of business as well. It's just been absolutely incredible, honestly. And it's scary to think it's 10 years because I still feel like such a little amateur. Honestly, it just doesn't feel like it's been that long. And because the company's always giving so much to us and so many fresh, exciting things are always coming along. That's what I love, that you never get bored. There's always someone new to help. All our amazing products. It has just been, honestly, the most insane journey.
Sorry, Shay just came in at the back there, just laughing at you talking about Kyle, because Kyle and Shay are pretty much the same age, aren't they? Like, so whilst we went through the business together, we started with like 2 and 3-year-old sons, and now they're like giant men in the house. Yes. What a story though, right, guys? Like, literally is just, we could end the call there and everybody would be like super inspired. Me too. Like, it's just such an incredible business to be able to set yourself free in that way. And some of the things that you said, I've always thought what you did was very sensible, which was, and you said it there yourself, like, you put yourself ahead. So made sure you were sorted first, bought your house with cash. Actually, not getting that mortgage was probably one of the best things that actually happened, because being able to build your new house while you were living in your other house, do you know what I mean? With not having to worry about, mortgage payment. Just really sensible decisions that you made along the way as well. And some of the things that you said that I loved, which were Actually, I can't even read my own writing now. You joined through a friend of a friend, so you didn't even know Katie when you saw her picture on Facebook. So a lot of what we do is show people about, you know, building your network and extending your network. And I always say most of my frontline are not necessarily people that I knew. In fact, I don't know if any of them at this stage now are anybody that I knew 10 years ago when I started. They're friends of friends of friends or people that I've met. So that's always why we say to connect, go into events. So that was exactly the same for me. The first event I went to, I was like, what am I doing? I thought everybody was going to be a fitness guru. Like Carly, if you go and check out her Facebook, guys, her house is beautiful, but she's beautiful as well. And she's got the most incredible body. She's the fittest woman I know in terms of like just going to the gym and looking great and looking after yourself. You work hard at it, to be fair. So, I remember, you do. I remember going to an event similar to that one you talked about, and I was like, oh God, everyone's going to be like drinking water and wearing sports gear, and I was like a 36-year-old mum of two, and I was not like that at all. And it wasn't like that. Everybody was so different. So if you're worried about conference or worried about events, just go. It doesn't matter how cheesy it is or how, you know, nervous you feel. You'll actually learn something and you'll love it. What else did you say that I loved there as well? You didn't know what you were doing, but you were excited. Again, just excitement can get you to the first couple of promotions. Thinking about who else can I help. And did one of the key lines that you said there that I want you guys to remember, so you did a lot that you didn't think you were ready for.
Oh my God, so much, so much. Never ever felt ready for it, honestly. And I think that was the most important part. And you know, I always say this to my team, like, you've got to ask yourself what's more scary. So I always scare myself into things. So like that, when John said that, what was more scary, doing the event or not being the first PMD? It was definitely not being the first PMD. So I had to do what I needed to do. And there's been a few times when I'm going about to go on stage, like I'm not like Emma, right? I feel like Emma is the best speaker in our business. And I am not like that, girls. I say, you know, a lot. I stumble over my words, but I just do it anyway. And I can remember a few times being backstage thinking, oh my God, what are you doing? My heart's like this. There was one time my jumpsuit split up the back just as I was about to walk on stage. It was,
I remember that.
Do you remember? I was thinking, I had stupid shoes on again. I've changed my shoes. Everyone, these are just ornaments. I don't even wear them anymore. And I just honestly used to think about Kyle, you know, and I'd have a little picture on my phone, get myself all emotional. I'd be like, what is more scary? Yeah. Doing this with all these people who don't really know me that well, or, you know, those things that we say, like, I could have give you the world, but I was too scared to, you know. And it's everything that I've ever done that's been terrifying, I've always been absolutely made up with afterwards. I've always been like thankful that I did it.
It's fantastic advice, because I think sometimes the same thing we say, step outside of your comfort zone, and I don't know if people really know what that means, but putting it that way is not, I've not heard it said like that before, which is I always did things that I wasn't really ready for, and it's the same thing, and it really does pay off, guys. So thank you so much for all of that, like loads of stuff to unpack in there. So tell us, I can probably pick some of them out myself, but what was your best year in the business, or your best time that you can think in those 10 years?
Honestly, like the first year is always going to be so special for me, because you have heard it saying, we're coming to that time now, aren't we, as we're coming to another fresh new year. And when we go to On Fire, you will hear it, like, you can change your life in 12 months. And I just don't think people take that seriously enough. Like, really you can. I am still 100% living, and my business has been built off the back of that huge momentum in that first year, where I did those things that I was 100% not ready for. You know, I was doing things that others weren't doing. No, you know, some people were too afraid to do the events when they were told to. I just did it. I was still terrified, but I did it. You know, I was like more invested in the bigger picture. So even for someone who didn't have much money, and money being the biggest driver for me, I was very like, you know, I was driving all over the place. I was really investing back into my business. I was going to Scotland a lot. We were driving up and down the country. I was going to events. So it wasn't like I was pocketing all the money and thinking, oh, I need to keep this, you know, because I'm skint, which is some people, you know, is mindset, right? I'm doing this business just for a bit of extra money. I just did it. Like, it was whatever, if something was available that was going to get me a little bit further, I was just like everywhere. Do you know what I mean? I was trying everything. But the first year, I just absolutely adored it. I adored the chaos. I adored the excitement. I love unorganized chaos. Honestly, I'm probably the worst PMD to go, can you tell me your DMO? I'm like, I am carnage. But I work best in that kind of excited, you know, that excitement thing, where excitement and pressure. I work best in, and something to chase and be excited about, and someone telling me that, you know, give me a bit of FOMO. So the first year was just incredible. Watching my bank balance glow up was fantastic when you've been borrowing money off your mum every month. That was amazing. Giving back, because I had such good friends and family who've always looked after me. So to be able to go, like, I was buying, one of my mates, I did all the baby shower and I bought a matching lubes for her and a baby. I was like, this is friend goals. Because at the beginning of the business, she was like offering to buy me a dryer, you know, giving back to the people that have give to you, I just think is the best feeling in the world. And I just loved that climb of that first year, becoming someone who I didn't even know that I could be, you know, after feeling so lost. And I just think you need to be so excited with that fresh energy and just really seeing the business for what it is. You know, some people come in, they have a real big goal at the beginning, and then in a month or two, if it doesn't go their way, they're off. I'm like, it's absolutely mental. We do advertise it a lot, don't we, and promote it as a little bit extra because we don't want to scare people and everything. But really, it is literally the biggest door opener for you to be financially free, time free, happy, fulfilled. Like, it is such a big, massive opportunity. And I think the first year was a big one for me. And I also loved, obviously not for many reasons of what happened in the world and everything, but lockdown taught me a lot of, you know, all the fancy stuff is amazing and everything, but I was very personally happy, if that makes sense, in lockdown, with like simplicity. And my business kept me going because it gave me a focus all the time. My fitness, we got the fittest ever with nowhere to go. It was sickening. And I just love the simpleness. And every time it just always shows me that the business is always the biggest positive in my life, no matter what's going on around me.
When you had that fabulous first year, bearing in mind, not everybody has a fabulous first year, do they? Right? But everybody can if they want to, and whether it's a fabulous first year or third year or fifth year or whatever. What do you think it was about your mindset? Because you could have easily been like the sort of person who went, oh, it's too hard, or it's too difficult, or I'm not gonna. What was it about? Was it something were you already like that, doing things that made you feel uncomfortable, or was it this business that made you start doing things that made you feel uncomfortable?
I've always loved a challenge. Like, I've always been quite competitive at school. I was like the fastest girl, you know, I always loved challenges like that. I've always been very good, but very doubtful of myself, if that makes sense. So I remember when I did this cross country race when I was dead young, with like 200 girls, and I was like, I can't do this. What the hell? And my teacher was like, she's to my mum going, she's amazing. Like, she's going to smash this. And I literally left everyone behind. But I've always been quite doubtful, if that makes sense. And I love with this business, like that's the biggest thing for me, is that you have to get out of your own way. And I even forget some of the things in the first year. Kim, who's literally my best friend, who actually came through a cold message on Facebook 2 months into the business. I messaged her because she was a Zumba teacher, and I just cold messaged everyone. Again, didn't have a clue what I was doing. But we were talking about this the other week, and she said to me, you rang me. I went, did I? She went, you rang me. And so we looked at the date she joined. I'd been in the business 2 months, right? And not many people have been in the business 2 months, pick up the phone to get someone to join the team. So I was doing things that, like, I was just going for it. Do you know what I mean? Nobody told me to do that. John didn't tell me to do that. I was like, what on earth did I say? And she was like, honestly, you sounded like you've been doing it for years. You give me all this spiel. I felt like you really knew what you were doing. I was like, bro. She signed up, and she's like my best friend. She literally has her own bedroom in my house. So the biggest thing is, honestly, I was doing the things that other people wouldn't. And I think one of the biggest reasons why is because my why and the bonus plan, what I attached it to, was very important to me. You know, and I've always been that kind of person. Like, when I was 17, I was at the window at 9 o'clock having my first driving lesson, paid for by me. So I've always been like driven like that, but I've always not, you know, I'm willing to give all the effort, but I wasn't getting it back. But with this business, if you give that effort, look what you can get back. Like, it's a million times more than what is really out there in the 9 to 5 in the normal world. And I just think that you don't have to be anyone special. It's just like your own personal drive. And if it means enough to you, there's just no way that you won't do it. I'm sorry, but there's no excuses. Like, I don't understand sometimes how people are that scared to pick up the phone to someone if that was going to create an incredible life for their kids, and they wouldn't have to go to work, and they could do what they want for the rest of their life. Like, for me, it always comes down to how much you want it. And if you want it enough, no matter what comes in the way, whether it's a year, you know, till you get taken off or whatever it is, you will keep going.
I love that concept of attaching something that matters to the bonus plan. And it's such good advice, guys, because it's, you know, when we say, oh, £500 a month or £1,000 a month, on its own, it doesn't actually mean anything, really. And I remember two things that you said there that really made me smile. One was, I was exactly the same. The morning of my 17th birthday, I didn't have a driving lesson, but I drove myself to wherever I was going to school with my mum. She was petrified in the car. I hadn't have a driving lesson, but I was like driving up and down the driveway just before midnight. As soon as I turned 17, I was like on the road. And those things, if you know, so even if you're not that kind of person yourself, go and find those people, because they're the sort of people that will do whatever it takes to get the things that they want. But then also that you said there, which was attaching something to it. So for me, when I was at the same point as you in the business, the bonus plan for me wasn't actually about the amount of money. It was about the fact that I wanted to take my children to school myself. And the only way that I was ever going to be able to do that was to change the kind of job that I had, and I needed my income to pay my mortgage, but how could I change that? And that was what I attached it to. That was my why, was I want to take my kids to school in the morning. It wasn't, I want to earn £10,000 a month, lovely as that is. It was, I want to be able to take my children to school. So attaching something of emotional value to something of financial value will motivate you way more than actually the financial value on its own. So have a think about that.
If you chase the emotion, the money comes. Like when we say, like, you know, I wasn't on, whenever I was hitting all my first promotions and climbing that ladder, honestly, I never knew half the time. I just was going for it. Do you know what I mean? And the bigger picture was there, and you just concentrate on that big goal and the money follows, you know what I mean? And I think that's the best way to do it, instead of, you know, just counting every penny coming along.
I look back now, I do it quite a lot. I think maybe it's coming up to a 10th anniversary type of thing. I look back and I think of how different my life would be if I hadn't just stuck at it all the time. Like how much, not just now, but over the last 10 years. All of the stuff, I wouldn't be living where I'm living for a start. Molly's 15 now, she was 5 when I joined, you know, like that. And I've been at home for all of that time, and there's so much that we miss, but we know different, right, when we're on this call. So even if you're not there yet, think about like 10 years from now, looking back, what do you not want to miss? What's going to happen that you want to be there for? And use these, you know, other people's experiences to help you to kind of pull you in that direction, because it's possible for everybody. Actually leads me on to the next question, which I had. So what about your toughest year or your toughest time in the business? Because it's all been pretty plain sailing so far. Can't have been plain sailing all the time, surely.
Yeah, I had a tough year I think it was 2015, so joining 2013. And I split up with Kyle's dad, and I'd made a few stupid decisions. So obviously I'd made all this money. The house that I'd bought in cash, like I'd had all the money myself personally, that I could have done that completely myself. But me being me, I'm quite, you know, things were different back then. So I'd done the house joint. So silly girl, had to go, I went through a divorce. I lost a lot of that money that I'd worked so hard for. So suddenly I just had a bit of an angry year, you know what I mean? And I was a bit like, I've worked so hard, and really being so sensible and saving so much kicked me in the teeth when it came to obviously the divorce, because a lot of that money I had to give away. So it was sour. It was sour having to go through that and thinking, oh God, I can't do all this again. So I felt like I had to literally, you know, obviously my emotions were all over the place. I had to pick myself back up again. So that was a very, very tough one. I think it was around that time as well, I'd lost an NMD leg. And you do, of course, you do. If anyone, doesn't matter what position they are in your team, if someone leaves, you can have that little panic moment, can't you, where you think, oh no, you know, but somehow you did it once, you will do it again, right? You have to create a new goal, and you have to just, one of the biggest things that I think is, eventually, like I had my pity party, I had my moan, but eventually I just thought, no one put you in that position then other than yourself. Like nobody told you to do that. You made that decision, you did that, so you've got to own it. As soon as you take back ownership of your own mistakes, you take back the power, right? You've not given that to them anymore. And I think that was the change for me, when I thought, right, come on, here we go again. And somehow off I went again, brought in fresh people, created new, you know, exciting legs. And it came back. Obviously, it was a bit of a painful one. That was difficult. And this year has been a very difficult one for me because I lost my nan in May. And I've always said that was the biggest thing that I was ever scared of. I was very, very close to her, like lived in my nan's house. When we grew up, she was, if you've got me on my socials, you will know she was literally the world to me. And she had a bad fall in February. And that was it. Like, it was literally a downward spiral from there. And then we lost her in May. And I just literally felt lost at first. Like, I'm sure, you know, some of you will be able to relate. If you lose someone who is such a big part of you, you do lose yourself. And again, thank God for the business, you know, thank God that I've built an amazing team that were there okay without me for a little bit. And thank God, I think, for the, like, looking now, obviously I can see the positives, but honestly, if you'd have seen, like, she was in hospital from February to May. And imagine if I weren't in this business. Like, I went to the hospital nearly every single day. And there was one point where my mum had gone on my mum was going on a holiday, bless her. She really didn't want to go. We were urging her to go. And then my auntie went and got COVID. So the pair of them who've been looking after my nan, like, all the time, were in the hospital, like, morning, noon and night, were both not available. So I was like, it's okay, because I will be there. And I got nearly a full week with my nan, like, sat by her bedside, feeding her. That time that we got to have one-on-one, you know, that is priceless to me. Like, forget the house, forget everything. That's very, very, very special. And then even when she passed away, you know, I would have had 3 days off work. Can you imagine? Like, my head was in the shed. And, you know, again, the business brought me back to life. I was thinking, how am I going to do anything again? And that you just do, right? You always find a way, don't you, to turn your pain into power. I only think like the last couple of weeks, I'm now happier again, daily, not just for a day or two. But somehow you've got to turn your pain into your power, aren't you? And I thought, do you know what? My nan loved me doing my business. She loved it. She told everyone, Juicy Plus. Carly does Juicy Plus. And she loved hearing all my stories. She loved all my adventures. And she loves me being this person. So, you know, now I'm obviously trying back to being back of that mindset of, like, being the person who she loved me to be. But again, the business has had my back massively this year, you know, financially. The girls within the team, and giving me those, you know, those times that I will always be grateful for, because I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, it's do you know what, is while you were talking there, and I was thinking, even through all of that, you were actually always active in your business one way or another, even if you weren't always kind of doing the very obvious Juice Plus stuff, because you create community, you have a fantastic team around you, you share that too. So even when they were supporting you through some difficult times, when the business was kind of supporting you, you were even sharing some of that on your social media and in your life, so that people can see. It probably wasn't even deliberate, but you've always been that, as far as I can see anyway. I can't think of a time in the last 10 years where you weren't active in your business.
Yeah, I think it just becomes you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when you do this business and you love it, it literally just becomes a part of you. And, you know, even when I took a little step back, obviously, because I was obviously in a bad way, you miss it so much. It is such a part of your day that, you know, it's a part of you, isn't it? It's who you are.
It's phenomenal though, isn't it, to have something, because I say this all the time, tough times are going to come anyway for all of us. We don't know when, we don't know what, we don't know, but they come, right? That's just part of life. Tough times come in all of our lives, and tough times, but you still have an income, makes the tough times easier to cope with, right? Because you can focus your energy on the people and the relationships that need your energy, and you're not thinking, oh, I've got to go back to work, or I can't go back to work and I can't pay my bills, or whatever. So I've been there myself a few times, and in the last 10 years, and that having an income that pays your bills, so you can go and be there for somebody else. Again, it's attaching emotion to the income opportunity, isn't it? And it's hard to express that kind of on a Facebook post.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I'll never forget that. You know what I mean? It's something that you'll never forget. I'll never forget that. You know, I would not have been able to have that time. Right when she needed me, you know, I could be there no matter what. And thanks to the business, I was able to do that.
So moving on a little bit from that, because I think we've all got times in our lives when we know that we're going to need this, right? And that's the only thing I can guarantee, guys. You will need this more at certain times of your life than others. So you might as well build it now, so that when they come, you've got it, right? So with that in mind, obviously we've got this senior partner incentive at the moment. It's reduced down to 2,000 points, which is incredible. Some of you won't even know, it used to be 3,250 points for senior partner.
Oh my God, it did, didn't it? I forgot.
Yeah. Right. So you used to have, so I was thinking that's like, it's almost like not far off half of that right now to get senior partner. So it's phenomenal. So yeah, it's not just, for a few years, it was 3,250 points for senior partner, right? So we now have this opportunity to get ourselves to senior partner, to bring in team members and get them to senior partner for the next 3 months. It's just going to fly. So what are your best tips and advice for somebody who is going for senior partner right now while it's 2,000 points, or bringing somebody in and getting them there?
So I looked at it yesterday with the team. It's literally, even if you're doing it this month, it's like 125 points a day, right? Which is very, very achievable. And last week when the girls, we were talking about literally having one of those days where you have a millionaire mindset, right? I always pull this out the bag sometimes with the team and just say to them, right, if someone said to you today, I will give you £1 million if you go and hit 2,000 points today, would you do it? Right? Every single person, would you do it? Would you find 2,000 points from somewhere? So you'd have the same products, you'd have the same social media, nothing would have changed except this massive driver where you would be like, holy shiz balls, I am going to get that today, right? So having that mindset. And last week I just had a day where I was like, right, watch, I'm going to go all out here today with a real customer focus. Went into the kitchen, banged the 90s on because obviously I'm getting prepped for this weekend, can't wait. And I just had, instead of being, I personally can be too salesy sometimes. I can be too quick in there, wanting the sale, trying to get to the point, very factual. I just put my 90s on and I had a good girly chat in my inbox where I was literally giving more of a hoot about people, right? Having a chat with them, general things. And one of the biggest things that I used was just, I kept putting it on my my stories and my post about payment plans and trials available, right? Because obviously it's the biggest thing at the moment, and at Christmas coming up, people, even if they're watching you thinking, I want some of that she's talking about, but Christmas, XYZ, then, if you're just making them aware, right, we've got payment plans available, so it's affordable, trials available, creating that conversation, then really having those conversations with people. I think I had 5 or 6 customers in a day last week, literally from me having that mindset that I was going to get them because I said it to the team and I wanted that, the FOMO thing again, trying to prove a point. But just having those conversations with people and me having a little general chat with them. So if you go with the shakes, I'll send you a few uplifts. All right, Brill, let's go for that. Dead casual, honestly, nothing dramatic. And just sending people a few little freebies. They absolutely love that. And obviously lead it with yourself now. I put a post on this morning. It's winter. It is the time when lots of people think, oh, I can just hide now. Sod it. Leave it till January. You've got to be the person who keeps showing up on socials where your energy is great. People can see you looking good, looking after yourself, because then they'll want to come and buy into you with the products. And again, what we've touched on before, attaching it to something, right? If you hit senior partner, why is that important to you? What impact is that going to make? What is that promotion going to feel like to you? What is it going to mean to you? What is the extra money going to do for you? And if you are emotionally attached to it enough, you will be pulled every single day to keep going for that. But honestly, I think we can be spoiled sometimes with all the things that the company gives us. When we started, I hate to be that person, back in our day, when your mum or your nan says it, but seriously, back in our day, we didn't have zilch. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. So now I think we can be spoiled sometimes. Like, here's an incentive, here's another incentive, here's these amazing products, here's a reduction. I think everyone thinks, they take it for granted. Yeah, and you've got to just look around, you go, holy shiz balls, this is amazing. I've been given an opportunity, make money, make myself look better. It's good, attached to this, and then go hell to leather for it. And if it means enough to you, you will do it. I have had people who have gone SP in a day. I had Danielle Pez, who was back joining my team last couple of months. She did it in 2 days at the end of the month when she was like, right, I'm doing it. So it really is about that decision. But girls, you've got plenty of time for the remainder of the month to absolutely smash it if it means enough to you.
Love that. An analogy I always use as well is the millionaire mindset thing, which is if I told you there was £5,000 under a rock in your garden, at what point would you stop turning the rocks over to look for it? You wouldn't. I'd be out there all night looking for that, like if it's under there somewhere. So this business is exactly that. You've just got to decide where you can stay up an extra hour or you can go to bed and and do it tomorrow. But that's some brilliant advice there. So you can go back and listen to that on the recording. Last question, because I know you have an 8 o'clock and so do I. So last question. So what I call the millionaire question. So what would you do if you were signing up today for the very first time? What would be the first thing you would do?
Oh, the first thing, I just would be a lot quicker than I was last time. Like if I look at my journey now, and I think, well, you know, it took me a couple of months to be sharing this. If you join this business from day one and decide that you are going to be successful, from the first day that you join, that means that you need to get customers and you need to get team members. So there's no point in waiting around, right? You just run out the blocks with that mindset, the millionaire mindset. What Emma's just said, I think, is more relatable at the beginning in it, turning those rocks. And I just think you've got to straight from the off. As soon as I would start, I would attach it to something, because as soon as there's emotion involved, it's completely different than an extra 100 quid. Like anyone can blow an extra 100 quid, 200 quid these days, like it means nothing. But if you really just look at the opportunity and attach it to something and go from day one, like what are you waiting for? You'll never be perfect and you'll never be over ready for anything. But fresh energy and just really, really having that drive to go for it is super, super important.
Thank you so much. Well, all I can say is I can see why you've been so successful, right guys? Like your energy is amazing, your enthusiasm is amazing, you are so consistent as well. I haven't even had a chance to talk about that, but through the 10 years that I have known you and been friends with you, you've always been really consistent through the ups, through the downs, and all of the stuff. You create fantastic community. You only need to go and look at Carly's Facebook, have a snoop, have a nosy, right? Have a look and see what she does. Great community, fantastic friendship. I laughed out loud at your reel thing with
oh god,
the other day when you
it
was the funniest thing I've seen in ages, the bloopers from doing a reel on Saturday night at Carly's house. So I know I'm going to let you go because I know you've got a call again at 8 o'clock, but thank you so much for tonight. It's been incredible. You've inspired me, and I know I'm sure you will have inspired the whole team, so cannot wait to see you for a massive hug on Saturday as well.
See you all the weekend. Thank you, Em.
Thank you so much. Bye guys. Bye.